In this video, we'll learn 10 tips you can use to make beautiful flyers, cards, and posters in Affinity Photo. All the tips we learn also apply to Affinity Designer. As an example, we'll make a flyer in Affinity Photo throughout this video. But more importantly, we'll practice using the tips we learn, which you can then use to make your own designs in the future. The first tip for you is how to correctly set up your document. To start a new document, you can press Command or Control-N. Inside this dialog box, we need to set our document to the correct size and color space. At the top, change your document type to Print. This allows us to use all the printing presets that Affinity comes with. Right below that, you can pick a preset size for your document. I'm going to make mine the size of a standard piece of paper. If you want, though, you can always change your document size to whatever you need right down here. And if you prefer working in a different unit of measurement, you can change that up here under Document Units. You also want to make sure your DPI is set to 300 or higher, or your work won't look crisp when it's printed. Next, you'll want to make sure you're working in the correct color format. If you're printing on a home computer, or somewhere like Costco or Walmart, then you need to set your color format to RGB. However, if you're going to print your work at an official print shop, either a brick-and-mortar print shop or an online one, then you need to change your color format to CMYK. If you don't set your document to the right color format, then it will have slightly different colors than what you wanted when you print it. If you're ever unsure of what color format to use, just give a quick call to the business you're printing from, and they will help you set your document up correctly. To keep this video from getting too technical, we're not going to cover margins and bleed right now. Just know that a tiny strip of your design will be cut off when you print from somewhere like Costco or Walmart. Because of this, don't put anything crucial right up against the edge. If you want an explanation of why this happens, I'll leave a link in the video description to a great video that explains it. If you're going to use a commercial printer, I recommend you download one of their templates and then make your design inside of the template they give you. Even if the template is made for Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, it will still open just fine in Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. If you use one of their templates, then you don't need to worry about setting up bleed and margins because they will already have the bleed and margin set up for you. If you want to understand why printers use bleed, I'll leave a link in the video description for 2 videos that explain it very well. Once you've set your document to the proper size and color format, you can press OK at the bottom. Tip number 2 is to use Pixabay.com. I love using Pixabay because it has a million photos and illustrations that are 100% free. You can use anything on this site for any project you're working on, whether it's a personal project or a commercial one. Using beautiful photos and illustrations from Pixabay is a free and really easy way to take your designs to the next level. Just type in whatever you're looking for, click on the photo you want, and then you can download it for free. If you want to get an illustration, just type in whatever you're looking for, and then change the search from images to illustrations. Then click on the one you want. Now you can download the illustration as a PNG, or some also allow you to download them as an SVG, which is a standard vector format that allows you to resize the drawing to any size you want without losing detail or sharpness. Once you've downloaded what you want to use in your design, you can place them inside of your Affinity file. To do this, I first like to open the files inside of Affinity by pressing Command or Control-O. Then I can copy the photo by pressing Command or Control C and paste it into my main document with Command or Control V. I'll do the same for the sign file, which I downloaded from Pixabay as an SVG. If you'd like to use the same files as me, I'll include a download link for them in the video description. Tip number 3 is to use the shape tools that come with Affinity. Down here we have the rectangle tool, and if we click and hold on it, there's a lot of other shape tools that we can use as well. Just select the one you want, and then click and drag to make a shape. For the example flyer we're making in this video, I'm going to make an oval at the top of my document. It looks like the circle we just made was placed inside of the group that contains our sign, so I'm going to click and drag to take the circle out of that group. Then I'll duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J and give it a baby blue color. Now we'll get out the Move tool by pressing V and move the duplicate circle down. The duplicate circle is covering the original one, so I'll rearrange their layers in the Layers panel. I think my duplicate circle would look better if it was a little taller though, so I'm going to resize and position it. And if you're not having guides appear to help you place your objects, make sure you have snapping turned on. You can do this by pressing on the big red magnet icon at the top. Now I'm going to give the duplicate circle a stroke. From the context toolbar, we can increase the width of our circle stroke. You'll probably want to turn on Draw Behind Fill as well. Then you can give the stroke a new color. I'll make mine white. Next, I'll get out the rectangle tool and then draw a rectangle at the bottom of the flyer. I'll give the rectangle a light orange color and then rearrange our layers. One of the things I really like about shapes is that they work perfectly as frames for photos. All we need to do is make the photo a child layer to the shape. For example, if I wanted the first oval I made to frame my wedding photo, I just need to make the photo a child layer to the ovals layer. To do this, I'll just drag the wedding photos layer down and to the right of the ovals layer. Now the wedding photo will only be visible wherever the oval is. Now we just need to resize and position the photo. To do this, have the photos layer selected, and then use the Move tool to change its size and position. Next, I'll move the signs layer up in our Layers panel, and then place it at the center of the rectangle. Now we're going to change the sign's color to white. To do this, make sure its layer is selected, and then change its color to white in the Color Studio. Right now though, there are some black lines inside of our sign. Luckily, since we downloaded this sign as an SVG from Pixabay, we can still edit this object to fix the problem. I'll open the group so we can find the layer we need to change. I'll check what the first layer is doing by turning it off and on. It looks like this is the main part of the sign, so I want to keep it the way it is. The next layers are the circles that are going around the edge of the sign. I like the way those look, so I'll scroll past them. Here at the bottom we have 2 more layers. I'll turn them off and on to see what they're doing. It looks like we don't need either one of them, so I'm going to delete both of these layers. We still have a black edge going around the sign though, so I'll go back to the top of this group to check on the first layer again. It looks like it has a black stroke going around it, but we can easily remove its stroke from the context toolbar. With the stroke removed, our white sign is finally looking the way I wanted it. Before we move on to the next tip, I also want to add a polka dot pattern to my flyer. To do this, I'll first select the ellipse tool. Now, if we hold down Shift while clicking and dragging, we can keep our shape's width and height proportional, allowing us to make perfect circles. And just as happened before, the circle's been placed inside of the signs group, so I'm going to move it out of it. After making my first circle, I'll zoom in a little bit and then press V for the Move tool. With the circle selected and the Move tool out, we can duplicate the circle by holding down Alt or Option and then clicking and dragging on the circle. I'll make my duplicate circle a little smaller while holding down Shift to keep its width and height proportional. With these two circles looking good, I'm now going to duplicate each one of them a few more times to make our polka dot pattern. After you're done making polka dots, we're going to clean up our layers panel. We'll select the top circle layer, and then while holding down Shift, select the bottom circle's layer. Then we can group all of them by pressing Command or Control G. To zoom out and see our entire design again, we can press Command or Control 0. As you can see, shapes are a very valuable resource to have when making flyers or cards. Tip number 4 is to use adjustment layers and filters. Adjustments and filters allow you to change the color and lighting of your design. You can use them to edit your entire design at once, or use them on individual layers. They can even be used on child layers. For example, let's say I wanted to give this wedding photo a soft glow effect. Even though it's a child layer, I can still apply the effect just as if it were a regular layer. All I need to do is select the wedding photo, duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J, change its blend mode from normal to soft light, and then come to the filters and apply a Gaussian blur filter. I'll bring the radius up to about 50 pixels. And just like that, we've applied a soft glow to our photo. This was just one example of the thousands of effects you can apply by using adjustments and filters, but I hope it showed you that changing the style of your design doesn't need to be difficult. Tip number 5 is to choose the right fonts for the text in your design. Whether you're making a flyer, card, poster, or banner, you're going to need to use text, and using the wrong font can really throw off your design. To find the right font, I recommend dafont.com. From Dafont's homepage, you can search for fonts by category, or look for the most popular fonts on the entire website. I'll look at their top fonts. Then I'll change it from the most downloaded fonts from yesterday to the most downloaded fonts of all time. Now I just need to scroll down the page to find a good font for my wedding flyer. I'm going to use Birds of Paradise. Before I download the font though, I want to point something out to you, and that's the pricing of the fonts. All of the fonts on dafont.com are free to use for personal projects, but some require you to pay a small fee if you want to use them in a commercial project. Right above the download button, you can see if the font is only free for personal use, or if it's 100% free. If you're okay with your font's pricing, then go ahead and press on the big download button to download the font. Once you've downloaded the font, you'll need to unzip the folder it came in. Then open the folder and you'll find a font file labeled as a .ttf. To install the font, just double-click on it, and then press Install Font. If you're using a Windows computer though, you'll need to right-click on the font file, and then press Install. After that, you no longer need the font folder on your desktop, so you can delete it after you're done installing the font. Back in Affinity, the font we downloaded is now immediately available to use. We don't need to restart the program or restart your computer. Now we'll make the actual text in our design. Just select the text tool, and then click somewhere on the page. Then you can begin typing. When you're done typing, click on the Move tool up here. With the Move tool out and the text box selected, you can change the font from the context toolbar. I'll change mine to the Birds of Paradise font that I downloaded. We can also center the text from the context toolbar and change its color from the color panel. Then we just need to resize and position the text box. Resizing the text box will also resize the actual text. If you ever want to change what you've typed, just get out the text tool again and then click in your text box. Then you can continue typing. Text is an important part of any card or flyer, and choosing the right font can really shape the way people read your message. Tip number 6 is to use gradients and layer effects to spice up your design. For example, our polka dot pattern looks pretty good right now, but we could make it look even better by applying a layer effect to it. To apply a layer effect, we first need to select the layer that we want to apply the effect to. By selecting the group that contains all of our circle's layers, we can affect all of them at the same time. Now we just need to press on the FX to bring up our layer effects. From here, we can apply any effect we want. I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur. I can do this by checking on the effect and then bringing up the radius. I'll bring it up to 20 pixels. We can see that this effect adds a nice touch to our polka dots. There's many other layer effects to choose from, and I encourage you to play around with them to see how they all work. In addition to layer effects, we can also add gradients to enhance our design. Let's add a gradient to our rectangle. To do this, select the rectangle's layer, and then get out the Fill tool by pressing G for gradient. Then we just need to click and drag to make our gradient. We can change it from a linear gradient to a radial gradient from the context toolbar. To change the color of our gradient, just press on one of the color stops, and then change its color from the color panel. Adding gradients and layer effects are nice ways to make your design a little more interesting. Tip number 7 is to use the right colors for your design. Choosing colors can be tricky to do, but it's really important. If you need help choosing good colors, I recommend the website color.adobe.com. I know in the Affinity community, a lot of us aren't big fans of Adobe, but this website really is helpful and is 100% free. It generates amazing colors for you based on color theory. Just choose the color theory you want to use, and then move these circles around until you find some colors that you like. Then all you need to do is take a screenshot and open that screenshot inside of Affinity. Then you can copy and paste the screenshot into your main design. Now all we need to do is select the layer we want to apply color to, and then click and drag on the color picker from the color panel to sample the color we want to use. To apply the color to our layer, just press on this little colored circle up here. I'll get back out the Fill tool and select the rectangle layer so I can change the colors of my gradient as well. When you're done sampling colors, you can delete the screenshot layer. If you haven't tried color.adobe.com, I really recommend you give it a shot. It's a lot of fun and can really help you with your colors. Tip number 8 is how to print and export your finished product. Once your design is ready to go, you can come to the top to File and then go down to Print. Then you just need to select a printer and you can print your design. However, if you want to print from somewhere other than a printer you have on hand, you'll first need to export the file. To do this, come back to File, and then go down to Export. Most of the time, you'll probably want to export your work as a JPEG. Just make sure the quality is set to 100. JPEG will retain all the detail you need and keep your file size small. You could also export your work as a PNG or TIFF, which try to keep even more detail in your design during export at the cost of larger file sizes. However, by the time your work is printed, the difference between a JPEG being printed or a TIFF being printed is so small that it would be difficult to notice a difference. Because of this, I recommend you use JPEG because exporting to a more compact file size will make it easier to upload your design to whatever website you're printing from. Some commercial printing businesses may want your work exported as a PDF instead of a JPEG though, so check with them first if you're not sure. Tip number 9 is to test a printed version of your design before printing hundreds of copies. Some printers might make your design brighter, darker, more contrasted, or less contrasted. Depending on how your design is changed when it's printed, you can add an adjustment layer to compensate for the printing change. For example, if the printed version is darker than you'd like, you can add a brightness and contrast adjustment layer and increase the brightness of your file. Then when you print it, it will be the brightness that you actually want. Doing a test print is always a good idea because you never know what could go wrong when printing your work. And finally, tip number 10 for making designs in Affinity is to first learn how to use Affinity. These apps have a fairly steep learning curve, but learning how to use them will make designing so much easier. To learn the Affinity apps, I recommend you look at our Beginner's Guide to Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer in the video description. In this video, we had to cover a lot of things very quickly, but in the Beginner's Guide, we go much slower and much more in depth to help you really master all the tools and concepts of Affinity. Once you know how to use the apps, then creating the designs you want is actually really easy. You can get our guide to Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer in the video description. After watching the guides, you'll be making beautiful designs of your own in no time. And with that, we are done. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I'll see you in the next Affinity Revolution tutorial.